It's no secret, bees are super important. And it's not just for food sources. Bees also keep the health of wild ecosystems in check by pollinating wildflowers, which in turn maintains biodiversity and thriving terrestrial biomes. And while all bee species are helpful pollinators, honeybees are crucial to our own food supply, pollinating close to 90 commercially grown crops in the US. But bee populations have been under extreme stresses, from pesticides to the climate crisis to parasites and diseases.
We are currently losing between 30% and close to 50% of our honeybee colonies every single year. What would be worse is to add a parasite that we know has a dramatic impact on honeybees.
Unfortunately, that's exactly the situation all bees are facing. This is Dr. Sammy Ramsey, a scientist at the USDA focused on protecting bees from an emerging threat.
The Tropilelaps mite, or the tropy mite, is a type of mesostigmatid mite. Many of the mesostigmatids are parasites or predators of other organisms.
Tropy mites are reddish-brown parasites that measure roughly 1 millimeter in length. The mites originated in Southeast Asia, and they started off as parasites of giant honeybees, which over time developed behavioral responses to remove these pests. But the resourceful tropy mites have now jumped to a new host, the European honeybee, or Apis mellifera, a species that you're all probably familiar with here in the US, simply as our honeybees. These honeybees thrive in many other places around the world. Luckily, the tropy mite hasn't reached all those populations yet, and bees in the US are safe for now. But if tropy mites do invade, honeybees are far less equipped to deal with the mite, making them even more vulnerable, especially since the mites attack the brood, aka bee babies.
The tropy mite will go into the brood cell and begin feeding on them in pretty much the rudest way possible. They've got like this mouth, but then there's like another mouth inside of that mouth. It's like the alien from Alien. They will bite holes in every section of the bee's body, providing so many entry points for bacteria, for fungi, for viruses, but also breaking down tissue as they go, creating wounds all over the bee's body.
This can result in bees having deformed body parts, reduced longevity, and illnesses like deformed wing virus.
As you end up with more and more and more sick bees, the colony can then collapse.
Now, these tropy mites aren't just bad news for honeybees. They also present a huge threat to US agriculture, meaning they're a threat to our economy and food security.
We grow crops at levels that are unsustainable for the environment in normal settings, and we bring in the bees to boost the yield such that we can feed a lot more people on a much smaller amount of land in a much more efficient way.
As much as 75% of the crops we grow rely in part on pollination. So without honeybees' contributions, a lot of the foods we love, like coffee, avocados, and almonds, would not be possible to grow at volume and would therefore be a lot more expensive.
A single colony of honeybees can have 60,000 bees in it. And millions and millions and millions of those bees are moved around the United States every year to kind of take them on a pollination tour.
All of the crops honeybees pollinate result in more than $15 billion put into our economy every year. And it's not just our agricultural systems that depend on bees.
Honeybees are a staple of terrestrial ecosystems in general because so many flowering plants maintain important balances within the ecosystems that we know of.
Bees and other pollinators interact with flowering plants. In turn, these plants maintain soil health and purify water in terrestrial ecosystems like grasses, prairies, and wetlands. And these ecosystems are already threatened by the changing climate. On top of that, tropy mites aren't picky, and research shows these mites can spread from species to species.
We have found them in pretty much all of the different subgenera of honeybees that are out there. And that is a huge concern because it's also not just the honeybees where we've found them. Research out of India has shown that they can also feed on carpenter bees. And if it were to be the case that we had this parasite transitioning to carpenter bees, bumblebees, we could end up in a lot of trouble.
There are more than 20,000 bee species globally. Of those, 4,000 are native to the US. And if they fell victim to these mites, It could cause the collapse of beekeeping systems and devastate many of the world's ecosystems across all continents, except Antarctica. That's why we need to act fast, because the tropy mites have already started to move out of Southeast Asia and are making their way to other parts of the world. So how exactly can we stop these mites? One major win is that scientists have successfully developed a test to identify the Tropilelaps species, but we still don't know a tried and true method to fight the mite.
The more that we know about this organism, the more ways we can find to mitigate the damage that it causes within honeybee colonies, the more ways that we can find to manage populations of this parasite. I've been trying to make sure that I can increase awareness about this organism such that more people understand the issues that it could cause were it to arrive in the US.
And raising awareness is important in order to highlight the urgency of this issue. This is the first step in getting governments and organizations to fund critical research, like Dr. Ramsey's, that will help mitigate the agricultural and ecological impact should these mites arrive in the US. So when exactly will that be?
We really don't know for sure how long it would take for these organisms to get here, because it's possible that it could be anything from a matter of years to a matter of decades, or they potentially could never arrive at all.
That would be the best case scenario. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't be prepared. And that's why Dr. Ramsey's work with different international institutions to help gather important research is crucial to help ensure we get the most complete picture of this tropy mite, while protecting our food, our economy, and our bee friends. If you're bee crazy and want to learn more about different species of bees other than the honeybee, make sure to check out the documentary My Garden of a Thousand Bees, streaming now on Nature on PBS. So what do you think about the tropy mite threat? Let us know down in the comments below. Make sure to subscribe to Seeker, and thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.